Hi, I'm Andy at First Intuition. Going to have a look at careers in accountancy, what accountants do, the different pathways into the accountancy profession, what employers want in terms of candidates, and then your next steps in terms of your applications. What does an accountant do? Well, they report and analyze numbers, money. They look at forecasting and budgets, so influencing future decisions for the other team members or the clients that pay them to do their services. So it's all about projects and strategy, not just about numbers. You know, if you think about an accountant, you maybe think of that left-hand picture there, that corporate business world, but there are accountants everywhere. They work in all different types of organizations. We'll have a quick look at that now. You'll hear about these terms practice and industry quite a lot. So it's a good idea to have a quick look and see what that means. In working in practice means that you work for an accountancy firm. So you're working on behalf of clients that are paying you to help them with their finance and tax requirements. And this can be from kind of day-to-day accounts for small businesses. Perhaps you're working for like a high street small accountancy firm, or you might work, you know, at a top four kind of Deloitte type size of accountancy firm, looking at more complex business accounts, looking at large mergers and deals. But there's a whole other population of accountants that work in industry or public sector. And this is the idea that you're working for one company or organization in their internal finance department, looking at kind of preparing reports for internal use and helping the company make decisions. Now, here's some companies that we train, you know, Marshalls, for example, they may ask their finance team to put a report together on what would it involve buying out one of their competitors. You know, how much would it cost versus what are the benefits, so to help them make that business decision. We work a lot with Arcadia. They own Topshop and Topman. Think about all the transactions that are going on, all the money coming in, all the invoices, the payments to suppliers. They need the big finance team to manage that. So looking at the kind of three main areas of kind of complexity and the kind of stages of working in the accountancy role, that kind of transactional kind of Topshop, Topman type role, that's more kind of operational kind of finance role. So purchase ledger, finance assistant, they're looking at those transactions, looking at processes. You need a good attention to detail and a day-to-day focus. You then move up to kind of managerial level. So at this stage, you're bringing all of that operational data together and analyzing it, trying to forecast, managing teams to kind of look at the bigger picture, look at the next 6 months. Because you're managing people, there's a whole different skill set involved as well in kind of managing people rather than just dealing with the accountancy side. Your strategic decision makers, your finance directors, CFOs, CEOs, you know, they've got a much longer term focus. They're looking at the next kind of 3 to 5 years. They manage functions rather than specific teams and individuals. They're looking at the wider picture. They're considering the kind of external factors that affect the business as well. So across those kind of 3 different stages, we're looking at the different qualifications, because qualifications are really key to accountancy. Down the left-hand side there, I've kind of made a note of the different numerical levels of the different kind of qualification stages. So you'll perhaps enter that operational stage from GCSE or A-level stage, but if you want to be a professionally qualified accountant, you'll need to work up your qualifications up to kind of level 7, which is master's level. So at that operational, that school leaver type kind of level, you'll be looking at the AAT qualification. It's a fantastically practical, really well-rounded kind of foundation level qualification that'll take you up to level 4. You could potentially decide to instead to go to university and not get straight into work and do a degree in accounting or finance. That will get you kind of just beyond that AAT level. But if you want to be a qualified accountant, you'll need to look at one of the professional accounting qualifications. And I've listed them up on the top here. I won't go into too much detail, but you really need to research these qualifications so that you have a good understanding of what they're all about. Look at a different couple of routes here. So Ian's one of our tutors here. He left school after doing A-levels. He went to the University of Cambridge, did a degree, secured a role at Grant Thornton, a really prestigious firm of accountants. He qualified as an ICAW accountant there, and then we were lucky enough to kind of recruit him as one of our expert tutors. Chap called Alan, who we work with, he attended college, did a diploma in business, secured an AAT apprenticeship through the NHS, and then moved to Experian, which is where he kind of qualified as a professional accountant. He then moved on to Intel, where he's doing an MBA. So 2 different routes there that kind of show you the different kind of pathways into the profession. So what do employers look for when they're looking for a candidate? There's a whole kind of raft of skills here that are involved, like communication, teamwork. You need to be accountable and professional. I'm going to just play a quick video clip of some of my colleagues talking about what they see as the kind of key skills for an accountant.
Hi, I'm Gareth. Now, the last few years have seen a huge shift in the skills that accountants require. It's really not about numbers anymore. It's not about being numerate. You don't need to be particularly mathematical to be a good accountant. In fact, the key skills in accountancy these days, well, one I would say would be analytical ability. So being able to weigh up situations, look at the different alternatives. I think also problem solving, so maybe identifying the potential solutions to issues that businesses are facing, looking at pros and cons of different approaches. I think decision making is very important when you've weighed up those different approaches, that you can then decide which you think is the most appropriate, and actually then probably communication. So actually the ability to communicate in an effective manner, perhaps to the board of a company, what you think they should do to address their problems, but really not about numbers at all.
Hi, my name is Ian, and I want to quickly tell you what I think are the 3 most important transferable skills for an accountant. Firstly, I think you need to have really good communication skills. Secondly, to be able to work as part of a team and get on well with others and motivate them. And finally, I would say to be able to be flexible, particularly around changing environments or in a variety of different roles. So you've got to be prepared to be able to apply yourself in different situations.
Thank you, Gareth and Ian. That was Ian from the Pathways example that we looked at earlier. So we've had a look at the different roles and stages of a career in accountancy, and we've looked at the kind of skills that employers are looking for. What I now want to look at is that kind of applying for a job stage and look at the different kind of phases in it and how long an employer or someone like me, I do a lot of sifting on behalf of our clients, how long they'll consider your application for at each different stage. So you've kind of popped an application in for a role that you're really interested in. You might be among another, 150 candidates. Now this sounds brutal and I might be a little bit harsh, but I would normally spend 30, 60 seconds, maybe a couple of minutes on each one to really quickly identify whether I think it's a good application and deserves to be in this kind of short list. We're looking at kind of getting that list down to maybe 50. At which stage, you'll maybe get 30, 60 minutes to kind of have a quick look, maybe a phone call, a phone interview to kind of reduce that down to maybe 10, 20 that you really want to interview and kind of see in person. That will take several hours in terms of the interview and then considering it, and then perhaps 1 or 2 weeks later, the kind of job offer will come in. So what we're going to look at really is how to avoid being kind of ruled out at this early stage within a minute maybe of kind of putting that application in. So we'll look at this idea of really standing out, and really good things that you can look at is, first of all, fully read and understand the role. There'll be a job description, there'll be information that the employer has put there. You need to address those specific skills and requirements. It'll all be set out there. The answers are there within there. You just need to understand what the client is looking for, and then think about how your skills and experience fit this. Even if you haven't got stacks of work experience, there'll be things that you've done in hobbies, part-time jobs that you can kind of mold into making a really good point, making a succinct and relevant points that really directly address those skills and requirements that are in that job role. Make sure it's neat and really well set out. Bad things that I see this all the time, a copy and paste approach to applying. I know it's very easy to do, but say you've maybe applied for a retail role or a different type of role a week before, and then just bang in the same application. If I'm, looking for an accountancy candidate and you've put something about retail, it's a definite no straight away because you haven't really thought about the job role. Things that are long-winded, not relevant, really try and be brutal and just kind of shave those out. Spelling mistakes, when you see them there in black and white, it looks terrible, really unprofessional. So get someone to proofread your applications, your CVs. Another real bugbear of mine, no capital letters. I see this a lot. There's, company names, subject, grade, A's, B's, C's, they should all be in capital letters. People, you don't even put a capital letter for the surname. And for me, that's a definite no. Make sure all the information's kind of there and not vague. Put all your GCSE grades, for example. If you've got quite a long commute, address that so that you're not getting ruled out because of the distance. If there's anything that's not clear on your application, then make sure you've addressed it. So here at First Intuition, we're here to help. There's our kind of websites. We've got summer schools, we've got clients that are looking for roles, and we offer training and qualifications, and we're apprenticeship specialists. I'm just going to leave you with a couple of more comments from my colleagues about some interview tips. Hopefully this has been helpful.
I would say my biggest interview tip is to smile. and to look the person asking you the interview questions in the eye. This might be harder if you're having your interview on a virtual platform, so make sure you know where the webcam is and don't get too distracted by the other things around you.
My top tip for an interview is to make sure that in advance you've thought about some of the questions they might ask you, particularly about your skills. So if you know you've done certain things like Duke of Edinburgh, or you've been a captain of a team, or you've got a part-time job, think about those things you've done and the experience you've got, but try and work out what skills you've got, so that when a question comes up, like give me an example when you've shown teamwork, you've got an answer ready to go and you don't have to kind of trawl through your memory to try and find an example.